Hi, I'm Bob Lichtman. I'm very privileged to be our Federation's Chief Jewish Learning Officer. This week, Jews all over the world are going to continue reading the story of the Exodus, of the Jews' experience as a people in the land of Egypt, as Egyptian society was being bombarded with the 10 plagues, and the Jews making preparations for next week to leave the land of Egypt as a free nation on their way to a new civilization in the land of Israel. Tradition tells us that within the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, there are 613 mitzvot, commandments, embedded in those 5 books. The thing is, it takes us from the very beginning of the Torah till right now, in this Parshat Bo, to go through all of these pages to get to the very first mitzvah, which is found in this week's parasha. The very first mitzvah in the Torah for the Jewish people is God saying to them, it's up to you to determine the beginning of every new month. Now, God told them a lot of things to do until now. He made it really clear, this is the way it's going to be. I'm God, this is what you do. He could have said, every 30 days is the beginning of a new month, but he didn't say that. God said, I want you to decide, based on the phase of the moon, when the new month begins. That's an unbelievable power that God shed and granted to the Jewish people. The sovereignty over time itself. To determine when a new month would begin would also determine when every holiday would begin. The cycle of the holidays affects everything in the society. The economy, religious conduct, sacrifices in the temple, the agricultural cycle. Everything is determined now by human beings deciding when the new month begins. What an unbelievable sharing of power to enable people to mark the beginning of and the ongoing notches in time. How is that done? It was done by 2 witnesses looking at a phase of the moon and coming to the court in Jerusalem and describing that phase of the moon to them. And based on their testimony, yes, it was backed up with cross-examination, but basically, based on trust, the new moon was declared and a new month took effect. An enormous vesting of trust in this process from one human being to another. But over the years, things changed and our Jewish calendar is now fixed. We could look at a chart now that will tell us when the beginning of the new month will be a year from now, 10 years from now, 100 years from now, down to the fraction of a second. So what is it now that binds us together in this interpersonal trust of the future that God granted to us then through marking time on the calendar? What do we have now that we don't have this marking of the calendar anymore? Well, there's another theme that flows through this Parshat of Bo. It's about telling our children our story. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. There's reference in this parasha, God saying how important it is for us to relate the story of our experience in Egypt and our emergence as a people to our children. That's the trust that God places in us. That's the trust that we place in each other, that we're all sharing these stories with our children. Because when we, as our parents and grandparents, and our children and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, all carry the same story, we all approach the future with the same venue of possibility, with the same idea of, here's where we've been, let's imagine where we can go. The other thing about the poignancy of that idea in this parasha is that vision of the future was demanded of the Jewish people even before they left Egypt, before they knew that the story would have a happy ending, that they would leave in freedom. Same thing with us. We have to carry that story with the same sense of vision, of optimism, of hope, that we're going to emerge from this situation victorious and with support and love for one another. That's what the Jewish people is there for. And that's why we've created institutions like our federation and our agencies and our synagogues, and just the intercommunal bonds we have with one another to support each other, to tell each other our story, to emerge at the end of our story in light and freedom and joy and happiness. Shabbat Shalom.